Today we explore how Peter Jackson adapted the chapter A Thief in the Night from J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit. We wander through some subtle yet significant changes from the source, and I'll pose an interesting question that I want you to answer. Now, let's wander. Let's start with an intriguing fact. The on-screen adaptation of this chapter is incredibly brief, starting about 1 hour into the film and spanning only about 6 or 7 minutes into the extended edition of The Hobbit: Battle of Five Armies. I think it's ironic that it might take you longer to listen to this podcast episode than to watch the actual on-screen adaptation of this chapter. However, the brevity of this sequence doesn't diminish its significance. Our journey begins right after the events of the chapter The Gathering of the Clouds, where various armies are converging on the Lonely Mountain. We begin with an overhead shot, capturing the dwarves as they discuss sharpening blades and preparing for the imminent battle against the elves. It sets the tone for the fierce conflict that lies ahead. Now, here comes a notable deviation from the book. In the original text, the dwarf on watch duty was Bombur, the plump dwarf who had fallen asleep in the passage of Mirkwood Forest. However, the filmmakers decided to have Bofur be the dwarf watching at the wall. This change pays homage to an earlier moment in the first Hobbit movie, An Unexpected Journey, when film Bilbo attempted to leave the dwarves while they rested in the cave after leaving Rivendell, but before being captured by goblins. In that instance, Bilbo's motivation to leave was due to the hardships of the journey, and Bofur convinced him to stay by expressing his sorrow over their lost dwarvish home. This time around, the roles are somewhat reversed. Bofur candidly shares his thoughts about the upcoming battle, predicting that they might not survive, and he gives Bilbo tacit permission to leave if he desires. There are no grand speeches or attempts to sway the Hobbit to stay. Instead, Bofur understands that it's only natural for someone to want to escape such dire circumstances. It's during this heartfelt exchange that we witness the depth and unexpectedness of Bilbo's loyalty and bravery. With the gentle Shire theme playing in the background, Bilbo tries to assure Bofur that he will return to see him in the morning. Bofur, seemingly accepting of Bilbo's departure, says a confident "Goodbye, Bilbo," believing it to be their final farewell. But here's the twist. Bilbo does intend to leave the mountain temporarily, but he also intends to come back. He is not abandoning his friends. He is merely taking a strategic step to ensure their safety. If needed, he's prepared to return and stand alongside them, even if it means risking his life. It's a heartwarming revelation that will take Bofur by surprise, a testament to the unexpected strength that lies within hobbits. With his plan in motion, Bilbo throws a rope over the wall, crosses the moat, and runs towards Dale. Thranduil remains resolute in his decision to attack the mountain, despite Gandalf's efforts to intervene. The elven archers are put on high alert, ready to shoot anything that moves, and it becomes clear that Bilbo barely escaped in time. As he arrives at the scene, the gravity of the situation is palpable. Thranduil instantly concludes that Bilbo is the hobbit who orchestrated the escape of the imprisoned dwarves without the guard's knowledge. Bilbo's response to this accusation is humorous and fitting for a hobbit, easing the tension momentarily. Bilbo wastes no time, though. He places the Arkenstone on the table and removes its rag. Both Thranduil and Bard immediately recognize the legendary gem. Bard questions how the Arkenstone came to be Bilbo's to give, similar to the inquiry made in the book. Bilbo then explains that he took the Arkenstone as his payment for the quest, a claim that Gandalf approves with a smile. Yet there's much more beneath the surface of this seemingly straightforward act. Bilbo's action goes beyond being an honest thief. It highlights the uniqueness of hobbits among all the races of Middle-earth. The Arkenstone, in Bilbo's perspective, represents his rightful share of the treasure, earned through numerous trials and challenges during the journey with the dwarves. He claims it as his own, but surprisingly, he willingly and freely gives it up to those who might be perceived as enemies at the gate. Bilbo does not succumb to the allure of the Arkenstone's beauty and value. While others might be consumed by greed and lust for such a precious gem, Bilbo remains selfless and generous. This act sets him apart from dwarves, men, elves, and even wizards, demonstrating the exceptional nature of his character. Beyond his actions, Bilbo openly shares his candid thoughts about his dwarf companions. As he explains why he's giving away the Arkenstone, he critiques the dwarves for their stubbornness and lack of manners, yet also praises their strengths. This portrayal of true friendship showcases Bilbo's genuine connection with the dwarves. He is willing to call them out on their flaws and foolishness, but he also appreciates and values their positive qualities. That's true friendship. This on-screen adaptation captures the heart of Bilbo's character and adds depth to his interactions with the other key players in the story. I have a few more subtle yet significant changes to the story that the film made from the book, including a close look at Bilbo's relationship with the One Ring. We'll get to that right after this brief break. We're not done yet. If you like this episode, please leave a review and share with your friends. And remember to subscribe if you haven't already. We'll be right back.
Do you ever find yourself thinking about who would win in a fight between Goku and Superman? Hi, I'm James Gavsey, and on the Who Would Win show, me and my co-host Ray ignore anything important happening in the outside world and debate fictional battles between characters from comics, movies, and video games.
We got a new show every week, and almost always am I the winner.
Yeah, not true, Ray.
In the past, we've discussed such matches as Captain America versus Darth Vader, Solid Snake versus the Iron Giant, classic matchups like RoboCop versus Terminator, and even the Muppets versus Sesame Street.
That one was crazy. So if you're a fan of geek culture and love a spirited debate, check out the Who Would Win show wherever you get your podcasts, or check us out at whowouldwinshow.com.
Be a barbecue hero with delicious, ultra-low net-carb hero bread, buns, and tortillas. Soft and fluffy, high in fiber, and with 0 grams of sugar, up to 10 grams of protein, coming in at under 100 calories per serving. Oh, and did I mention they taste like their mouth-watering traditional versions? I mean, what's not to love? Use code AH10 for 10% off your first hero bread purchase at hero.co. That's AH10 for 10% off at hero.co.
To conclude this film adaptation, Gandalf urges Bilbo to distance himself from the impending conflict due to Thorin's dragon sickness. Despite the warning, Bilbo insists on staying true to his friends, refusing to abandon them in their time of need. In the morning, he mysteriously disappears from Dale, leaving behind an air of uncertainty. Before we close our exploration of this chapter's adaptation, let's acknowledge a couple of honorable mentions from this chapter that make their way into later scenes. The first is Bilbo's line, quote, "I may be a burglar, but I like to think I am an honest one." In the book, he says a nearly identical line to Thranduil and Bard, but in the film, it's directed at the dwarves after the reveal of the Arkenstone. This places Bilbo in great danger of Thorin's wrath, and we'll explore this scene further in a future episode. The second mention is the arrival of the Raven at the Wall. In the book, the Raven arrives a few days before the dwarvish army and relays the news to Thorin. In the film, the Raven doesn't speak, but its arrival heralds the coming of Thorin's cousin, Dane, and his army of dwarves. These are relatively minor adaptations and don't significantly alter the essence of Tolkien's story. However, there's one change in the film that is more subtle, yet I find more significant. In the book, when Bilbo leaves the Lonely Mountain and approaches Dale, he wears the ring and is therefore invisible. In the film, Bilbo does not use the ring during this scene. One possible reason for this change is that it allows for more expressive and engaging storytelling in the visual medium of film. By not using the ring, the filmmakers can showcase Bilbo's emotions, determination, and bravery through his facial expressions and actions, rather than relying solely on the invisibility gimmick. Yet a more critical reason for this decision is to avoid inconsistencies surrounding the ring. When Tolkien wrote The Hobbit, the idea of Bilbo's ring being the One Ring of Sauron was not yet fully developed. However, with the hindsight provided by the Lord of the Rings film trilogy, we know that Sauron and his servants are drawn to the ring when it is worn. By having Bilbo not wear the ring in this scene, the filmmakers avoid the complication of Sauron sensing its presence. However, there is a contrary viewpoint to this decision. By not having Bilbo use the ring, we miss an opportunity to witness his growing dependence on it. He has employed the ring quite liberally in various dire situations, from escaping Gollum to confronting spiders and facing a dragon. Bilbo's remarkable luck is undeniably connected to his use of the One Ring. Yet, by avoiding its use in this scene, the significance of the ring in Bilbo's character arc and growing confidence is somewhat diminished. This leads to a thought-provoking question. Would Bilbo Baggins be the successful Hobbit burglar that he is without relying on the One Ring? I don't think so. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this question. Share your opinions with me on Instagram or Twitter at Lore of the Rings Podcast. Who knows, maybe one of you will persuade me to see it from a different perspective. That wraps up our exploration of A Thief in the Night in Peter Jackson's film adaptation of The Hobbit. From Bilbo's selfless decision to part with the Arkenstone to the exclusion of his use of the ring, we discovered how these adaptations both stay true to the spirit of Tolkien's story, while also offering a fresh perspective on the characters and their journeys. Join us in the next episode, where the Battle of Five Armies will finally happen. Don't forget to share your thoughts and insights with me on Instagram or Twitter at Lore of the Rings Podcast. Until next time, may your paths be filled with adventure and wonder. Thank you for wandering Middle-earth with me today. My friends, if you enjoyed this episode, let me know by subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing with your friends. Follow me on Facebook or Instagram at Lore of the Rings Podcast. For feedback on the show, please email me using the link in the show notes. Until next Thursday, remember, not all those who wander are lost.